Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, host of the Today Show, coming to you from the Disability Channel. And so happy to have my veteran cohort with me again today, Jill Younghusband. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Dr. Laurie. How are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I feel a little down, no, I don't feel down. My energy is low today.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a very busy week. So, as the week gets to near the end, I kind of get worn out a little bit, but you're here to pick up the energy, and that's great. And we have a fabulous guest today. So how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's been I'm always busy doing something in this house, living in a fixer-upper. There's always something to do, and also getting ready for winter, cleaning up the yard and yeah, but it's good. It's good. Things are good here in Edmonton.
Excellent. Same here. But I took my dog out this morning for his morning walk, and I looked up, and here was the moon just hanging. The sun was up, but here was the moon just as bright as anything in the sky. It was beautiful. So I took some photos.
Well, full moons are powerful.
Well, maybe that's why I'm feeling a little tired.
Yeah, perhaps. But you've been busy. You're a busy lady.
Yes. Well, I corrected someone yesterday who said I was busy. And I said, no, I'm not busy. I'm productive.
Oh, I like that word better.
Yeah, because, a lot of people keep busy so they don't have to think about things. Well, I'm not that kind of busy. I'm just productive and engaged.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of engaging, our guest today, he has been a mover and a shaker in the veteran advocacy world, and I'm excited to bring him on.
All right. Well, why don't you just tell us a little bit about him, and then we'll get him to tell us all about him.
All right. Well, a little over eight or 9 years ago, I connected with Dave Bona through Facebook, and because I've been doing some research on my health and the history of what my military career and my medical history. I deployed to Namibia in 1989, and they gave us some anti-malarial medication as a prophylactic treatment for malaria. And I thought perhaps I had been injured by this medicine. And Dave reached out. Dave called me. We spoke for over 2 hours, and he educated me on the hazards and side effects of Mefloquine. And this weekend, they're having their 8th annual Mefloquine rally. This year, it's in Victoria, and we'll be talking about that. And also, we'll talk about Dave's career, and it's going to be a very educational session.
All right. Well, I believe our dear friend Stephen Beardwood is writing a book about this.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he is. Yes. Okay. All right. And once he's done that, we're going to have him back on too to talk about the book. And
absolutely.
So let's bring Dave on board.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning.
Hi, Dave.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Yeah. So, Dave, can you give us a little bit of background about your military career? Obviously, you served with the Canadian Airborne Regiment, and how you got involved with the Mefloquine awareness advocacy.
Yeah. I joined the military in the early 80s. I was in the militia for a few years, and then I went regular force. Ended up with the 1RCR out in London. Went to Cyprus, Saudi Arabia for the first Gulf War. Then it was Somalia, and then Rwanda. Then after Rwanda, my career sort of imploded there, and I crashed and burned rather hard. Went through the Canadian Forces medical system, didn't meet their criteria for PTSD, So basically, I went through the military justice system and court-martialed and kicked out for conduct issues. And what's come to light now is the majority of the conduct issues have been laid directly at the feet of the anti-malaria drug,
come up closer.
Mefloquine. Oh yeah,
Come
sorry
closer.
about that.
Yeah, come into the center. There we go. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And
All right.
So basically, the all the issues I was having post Rwanda was related to the side effects from the anti-malaria drug Mefloquine they gave us in Somalia and Rwanda. Yeah, and it was pretty horrific, actually. As I look back on it, and I don't know how I survived because this drug has a very high rate of causing suicide. I had 3 active suicide attempts that were stopped. Twice while I was with 3RCR after Rwanda there, tried to kill myself. And it just so happened, I used to keep an extra loaded mag in my locker at work. And I had the keys for the lockup. So just had enough the one day and I grabbed that mag and I was walking to the weapons lockup, and out of a side hallway, this Padre Allen, unit Padre, grabbed me. He goes, "Hey Dave, how's it going?" Just randomly, I don't know if his Padre radar was going off or what, but he talked to me for about 15, 20 minutes and it was enough. He did that twice.
Thank God. Yeah.
And then the third time I was going to go crash into a semi on the highway, and the friends of mine actually cut my vehicle off and dragged me out of my vehicle and went and got me drunk. but again, it was enough. It was enough. There was like that whole period of time was pretty dark. I don't know how I sort of made it through it, but I did. Yeah.
And sadly, your story is not.
No.
There are so many.
Yeah. Yeah. I tracked down when I found out about the Mefloquine poisoning about 10 years ago now, I got angry. It's like, are you kidding me? I've been fighting PTSD ever since I got out at that time, and it was about good solid 14 years of fighting PTSD. And just to find out it wasn't PTSD. Like, I did inpatient treatment programs for PTSD. I did weekly psychologist sessions for PTSD, once a week, twice a week. I did every treatment under the sun I did to try and manage the PTSD. Nothing worked. Made things a little bit more manageable for a while, but I couldn't get away from the extreme anger management stuff, and all the other physical symptoms that we found out about after the fact. And it wasn't until my longtime psychologist, Dr. Susan Brock, snuck me into a new treatment protocol she was using for young Afghan veterans that were coming back with severe TBIs, that all of a sudden my life got better. It took 3 months of this treatment and all of a sudden I got my life back. The suicidal ideation went from a constant thought every single day, all day long, to just transitory, when financial stuff kicks in. Oh, fuck, this sucks. Like the normal stuff, if you call that normal. But I wasn't getting swamped with it anymore, just by changing from PTSD to brain injury treatment. So my doctor started asking me questions. One of the questions he asked me was if I've ever been on the drug, anti-malaria drug Mefloquine. And I said, yeah, I was on it twice. So there wasn't a lot of knowledge back then, but she just kept on treating me for a brain injury, and it just kept on getting, my life just got kept on getting better and better, to the point now where I hardly ever do any PTSD treatment. I do a weekly neuropsychologist appointment, and I do almost exclusively management for brain injury stuff. So I still got PTSD, don't get me wrong. It kicks me in the ass every once in a while.
So you've got both. You've got
Yeah.
mefloquine injury plus PTSD.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, can you tell our viewers what the history of Larry and the generic name is Larium?
It's called Mefloquine in Canada.
Right.
Down the States in Europe, it's called Larium.
And how did it come into the military in our
How it came into the military, there's a little bit of involved history here. We got to go back to Vietnam. In Vietnam, they were issuing a drug called chloroquine, which is from the same family of drugs as Mefloquine/Larium.
And that's what I took in Namibia.
Chloroquine, yes. So chloroquine's got an injury profile. And that injury profile is what we have to talk about, because in Vietnam, more American soldiers were getting killed by malaria than they were by the Viet Cong or the North Vietnamese army. So the American military instituted an urgent operational requirement to find a replacement for chloroquine. They spent, like, way back in the 60s, 70s, they spent $100 million, and that was an astronomical amount of money back then. And they tested every compound they could get their hands on. And there was absolutely nothing that they could find that was even close to being effective as an improved anti-malaria drug. So they had a researcher that was part of this trials that previously he worked with the American Ultra trials for that drug Americans tried to develop to enhance soldiers' performance on the battlefield. The only time this guy was ever published was twice, and it was with the same compound. The one compound they found at the Agent Ultra trials that was actually beneficial, had all the properties that the American military wanted. Soldiers that didn't sleep, they were anxious all the time, reduced inhibition control. There was only one drug they found, and that was our early form of Mefloquine. And it noted in the report also was that it had incidental anti-malarial properties. So keep that in the back of your mind. This researcher is working with this program for the anti-malaria drugs now. And at the end of this $100 million program, they had nothing. So this researcher mentioned the fact that Mefloquine had these incidental anti-malarial properties. And lo and behold, you got an American Army general that had to have something to show for that $100 million. He trotted out Mefloquine. Problem with the trotting out of Mefloquine, I bet you he was thinking, yeah, they will develop it further before they started issuing it to the troops. They didn't. They rushed it through trials. It never completed the testing where it was actually fully tested on animals, where it was given to animals for an extended period of time, and then they do full autopsies on it. That never happened. So they were never able to figure out and note the damage caused by this drug to the monkeys and stuff. So those trials never happened. So it went right to troop trials, and it kept on failing the troop trials. But they needed this drug. They needed a better anti-malaria drug, and they thought Mefloquine was it. So this drug was, it's actually nefarious what Roche did to get this drug through.
What timeline are we talking now at this point?
This is the early 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, early 70s. Early 70s to mid 70s time frame. And then it just basically, they tried it with a bunch of prisoners down in the southern states, and it failed. finally they went over to Africa, to a third world country over there, to their military, and they purchased a platoon of soldiers to test this on. And apparently it passed that trial with flying colors. And that plus a doctor that would, they started issuing it to some civilian travelers. Mm-hmm. And the thing was, they were handed a form when they were handed the pill. Okay, if you, when you come back, have this filled out and return it to us. So they gave this drug to thousands and thousands of American travelers. But the problem is, if you're not on that plane coming back and you're locked up in a mental institution in a third world country, you can't hand in your form. So based off of that study, they came up with the number 1 in 10,000 adverse reaction to the drug. When in all actual fact, the actual number is more like 1 in 5, 1 in 8.
Oh my goodness.
Have a severe adverse reaction to the drug, not just a low level. Like everyone who took Mefloquine had the vivid dreams. Mm-hmm. And what the vivid dreams were an indicator that the drug was actually burning holes through your brainstem and you were to immediately discontinue it. Set it right on the box. Vivid dreams, stop using the drug, report to a doctor. Most military guys that were issued this drug didn't have a product insert. It was like when we were issued the drug, we were given a plain brown pill bottle with a little label on it that said Mefloquine. That was it. There was no product insert. We didn't have any material to say, hey, okay, the vivid dreams, the balance, the body temperature regulation issues, the violent tendencies, the suicidal ideation, the I haven't slept for freaking 2 weeks in an operational theater of war and I'm armed for bear. There was no product insert for us to access to go, hey, we've got a problem, and then actually be able to say, go to our medical system, okay, according to this product insert, I'm having an adverse reaction to this drug. That never happened.
Wow.
So this drug was absolutely a freak show in a bottle. It was from day one, the first day I took that pill prior to my deployment in Somalia, it was a shit show. Oh, excuse my language, sorry.
No, that's okay.
No, we'll go back
That's
to this history. So, sorry, I got off track. So they had this study done to find a replacement for the drug. Mm-hmm. They couldn't find anything, so Mefloquine was put forward, and I bet you Mefloquine was put forward with a thought that, they will refine it further, they will improve it, that never happened. That improvement part never happened. The only time the improvement part happened is they tweaked the formula after it started being issued to troops. So as the drug, the longer it stayed in service, the less side effects there were, but they were never able to eliminate the side effects, ever.
Yeah.
So
I have a question for both of you, which is an educational answer for me, because I never have been in the military myself. But this is not the first time that I've heard about something where our military were used, for lack of a better word, guinea pigs for certain products, drugs. This is not the first time I've heard that. I know other things that the military were used as a form of a test ground. Am I out in left field?
No. First Gulf War, we were issued untested drugs. There was an anthrax pre-treatment, which has been directly linked to causing Gulf War syndrome. Mm-hmm. It happens all the time. There's this urgent as soon as things go operational, you start deploying soldiers overseas, some of the rules that apply to civilians get thrown out the window. So they can, for example, the risk of us becoming combat ineffective because we were exposed to anthrax. outweighed the fact that we were being given an untested, anthrax drug,
Mm-hmm.
a vaccine type thing, and the nerve, the parobrostigmide, I think it was called, the nerve agent pretreatment that we were given in the first Gulf War. Again, another untested drug. But again, it was an urgent operational requirement. What's the point in deploying 1,000 soldiers overseas if the first time you get exposed to a chemical attack or biological attack, all your soldiers are dead. So, but in today's day and age, like there's, even with just computer modeling, of what little I know of this, I'm not even a biochemical engineer background type guy. I am aware that with computer modeling, they can actually detect these these drugs that cause injury. So
the day is set. Join us October 12th, 2024 at Carrigan Arms for our next fundraiser in honor of veterans, the Invictus Games in British Columbia, Canada, and TDC Employment Program Enrollment. For more information, email us at info@thedisabilitychannel.ca. Introducing Veteran House Alliance International Monthly 50/50 Raffle. Purchase your ticket today, link on display, and have a chance to win cash and help a great platform supporting veterans.
Yeah.
And with the military, I remember you were given Mefloquine and you were given loading doses, so it was off label. Because it's a weekly dose, is it not?
Yes, 250 milligrams. Originally, when the drug was first developed, it was developed, I believe, with a 25 milligram dose. And this is why the Mefloquine had such a hard time with going through the trials and program. Every single time they did a trial with it, people caught malaria. So they kept on going from 25, they double it, 25 to 50. Then they give it again. Oh, they're still catching malaria. Then they double it from 50 to 100. Oh, they were still catching malaria. Then they doubled it from 100 to 200. Oh, they're still catching malaria, but they're not as many of them are catching malaria. Oh, let's just bump it another 50.
Okay.
Even though we're at a dangerously high level for injury, let's just throw in a little 50 extra as a safety precaution and give it to the troops. Give it to the troops. But the thing is, with this drug, it was never issued safely or correctly. Remind me, Jill, we got to talk about a loading dose, okay? Because right after I talk about this part here, the drug, prior to your deployment, you have to start taking it 3 weeks prior to your deployment, 1 pill a week. The problem with that is Mefloquine takes 6 to 7 weeks to hit that serum level in your bloodstream to where it's actually working. So we've got soldiers deploying overseas taking a very toxic anti-malaria drug. It was never issued correctly. It should have been taken 6 to 7 weeks prior to deployment. And then, because it doesn't, everything about this drug is just, it was rushed. It was all the safety protocols were ignored just because it was dirt cheap.
Right.
Malaron costs $14 a pill, roughly. The price goes up and down from there, but that's
an alternative.
Yes, Malaron is a safer once a week anti-malaria pill. Safer. It still has a little bit of an injury profile, but nothing near what Mefloquine has. Nothing near. It's like we're talking like an 80 to 90% rate of injury with Mefloquine, whereas Molarone, you're getting less than 5%, if I remember correctly on the one study. So the difference there is quite startling. But here's the clincher. When you're deploying 1,000 soldiers overseas and you got to give them a pill once a week, okay? This is where the crappiness comes into effect. They made a choice. Okay, well, we know that with off these studies produced by the drug company, 1 in 10,000 of our soldiers will be injured by this drug. They were willing to accept that 1 in 10,000 just to get their hands on a pill that costs 14 cents a pill as opposed to $14.
Whoa.
They were willing to accept that one individual. But the thing is, these statistics were produced by the drug company.
And
The actual rate of injury is more like 1 in 5 or 1 in 8 or even higher. It's absolutely startling. Some of the stuff that's coming out now, like with regards to this drug, it's yeah.
And now for our viewers, if I may sidebar, if our viewers are looking for information on the side effects of Mefloquine, the Dr. Remington Nevin has founded the Quinism Foundation.
Yes.
And quinism.org is the website where our viewers can go and find out more information on what quinism is, which is it's a condition. It's Mefloquine injury, quinism.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And quinism's the actual injury associated with Mefloquine poisoning is called chronic quinoline encephalopathy. Basically, in a nutshell, what that means is you have holes burned through your brain stem.
Wow.
And it's damaging the nerve clusters in your brain stem.
Which affects all
Mefloquine poisoning is a communication issue. And the communication is between your brain and your body and your body and your brain. Because if you look at the physical symptoms, what are the physical symptoms? Gastrointestinal issues. Okay, you have you go to the washroom a lot. And why do you go to the washroom a lot? Because the nerve cluster in your brainstem directly under where this damage occurred is called the dorsal nucleus of the vagus. And this is the one that controls the smooth muscles of your esophagus, your stomach, your large intestine, your small intestine, and your colon.
Wow.
It also controls the secretions within your digestive system. And oh my God, it's just, it's
Just
crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Like you can still function in life, but you're like, oh my God, geez. Sorry, I was just talking with someone there the other 2 nights ago, and her story was absolutely horrific. And
oh my God.
And she was a civilian volunteer working in Central America and stuff like that, and just the absolute, and I can't describe it any other way. It's absolute horror what this woman was subjected to directly as a result of this drug. Because not only does it attack your digestive system, it also attacks your vestibular system. Because it affects your vestibular system because you have to understand your vestibular system. In your vestibular system, you have 3 main components. At the bottom of the feet, there's some nerves that detect how you're orientated, upright, your orientation. That information goes from the bottom of your feet up through your brainstem to your brain. Also, there's oil-filled organs in your ears, inner ear, that information goes to your brain. There's also the visual component of the vestibular system. You actually have to see the horizon. If your other 2 parts of your vestibular system's compromised or injured or damaged in any way, the visual component will take over to compensate. But again, the visual component, that information goes through your brainstem.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that part, the gastrointestinal, the visual. Now you got, let's talk about, it's not a physical symptom, but it's related to the vestibular stuff. And what we're finding now is people that have been poisoned by mefloquine have a very, very high level of anxiety. And what that is related to is not the PTSD stuff, not anything else other than that damage to the vestibular system.
Right.
Because your vestibular system, it's detecting something's wrong. So when your body detects something wrong, it sends a signal to the part of your brain that makes you anxious and makes you vigilant. Okay, there's something wrong with the body here. We might fall down and crash and bang or smash our face against the dirt. So what's going on, you know? The signal, there's this, like, because the vestibular system's damaged, it generates this incredible amount of anxiety. And did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I just sort of,
Yeah.
sometimes I get lost in my head here trying to think
That's good.
think a step ahead. So basically with someone that's been poisoned by mefloquine, the best analogy I heard to describe how this person is if you take someone and stand them at the edge of a cliff, you know, 1,000-foot cliff, you stand them right at the edge, you grab them by the scruff of the neck, and you hold them just slightly off balance forward. That anxiety that's generated is what a person with mefloquine poisoning is feeling like 24/7. There's something wrong.
Wow.
There's something wrong. That's why we get such a high rate of individuals misdiagnosed with PTSD. It's this unrelenting anxiety related to the vestibular damage. So many people, because when you treat that symptomatically, how do they treat that? They treat that with, you know, anti-anxiety medications and stuff like that, you know, but the problem with the anti-anxiety medications is it's not treating the root issue. It's actually because a lot of these anti-anxiety medications are very toxic, and some of them cause a lot of inflammation in the brain, and that they actually exacerbate the symptoms. Because what happens when you get something that gets like toxic around that damaged part of the brainstem, from like one of these anti-angs, it'll actually increase the amount of inflammation. As soon as the inflammation increases, the electric conduction of the signals through the damaged nerve tissue is decreased. So your symptom anxiety will increase.
And some of those drugs, those antidepressants that they give out now, it's not getting on them so much as trying to get off them, because that's when suicide ideation can happen as well.
Yes.
When they're trying to wean themselves off. Because I have clients who've done that. I had one client, she was on 5 different kinds of antidepressants when I met her. She had 3 little kids, a high tense job, and it took her, she said, "No, I don't want to take these drugs." I said, "Well, you go to your doctor." But it took her 6 months. And we were in touch every other day to make sure she was safe.
Yeah. Yeah, we've lost so many veterans to this misdiagnosis. It's actually criminal.
Yes.
What went on? There's the head doctor, head psychiatrist, and head doctor for the Canadian Armed Forces have got so much blood on their hands. They knew when we first brought this forward, they knew there was a problem with mefloquine, and they knew there was a problem with the soldiers under their charge. They knew about mefloquine, and they knew that these soldiers could have been poisoned by mefloquine. But you know what? They did nothing. Oh, you might have been poisoned by mefloquine. Let's try, instead of treating neuropsychiatric issues, let's try and treat a brainstem issue. They made the choice to disregard. They killed Canadian soldiers and veterans. They killed them. Canadian Forces doctors and psychologists. They knew there was a problem. To protect their jobs, they didn't stand up for their soldiers. They threw them under the bus. And that one psychiatrist, he was taking grants, $500,000 grants from drug companies to trial PTSD drugs on Canadian soldiers that have been exposed to Mefloquine. He knew they were poisoned, and he knew he was causing harm, but he wanted to protect his career and he wanted to protect his golden ticket.
So I have a question for you, Dave, again, because of my ignorance.
Oh, yeah.
Is there such a thing as, when you say Mefloquine poisoning, is that an ordinary dose of it? It's still poisonous?
Yes.
We're not talking people overdosing on it or anything.
No, it's just,
No.
I had the first pill I took, that evening, I had my first seizure. I was walking up from the basement and my vision went black and I was seeing stars. I had a seizure the first day I took the drug, and I had a seizure almost every single day afterwards. And if I would have went forward with, say, to the medical system, saying, "Hey, my vision is going blank for a short period of time," number one, I would have been taken off the deployment. Number two, I would have lost my driver's license. Number three, I probably would have been kicked out of the Army. So you never
don't say anything.
Yeah. So like this drug, like it injured everyone that took it. There's no one walked away unscathed. Every single person that had those vivid dreams are an indicator to immediately discontinue use and go talk to a doctor. You may have an injury from this drug. Every soldier you talk to, every single one that took the drug had those vivid dreams. And what I know now is if you did a vestibular test on everyone that took that drug, what you're going to find is not one of them has an undamaged vestibular system. They may have a very low level of symptom presentation, like they might not even realize, like they're injured. But if you did a full-on vestibular test with them, every single one of them would fail.
We welcome you to advertise and promote your goods and services, and/or brand your logo to 34 million subscribers on Canada Talks 167. Your investment will go towards our employment programs in the media industry for persons with disabilities and veterans.
Wow.
Yeah, the injury is there. What we're seeing now is this type of injury is going to lead to a lot of degenerative brain disorders. Already,
Right.
there's a study that just came out of the States with veterans, and they're finding that people that have taken Mefloquine have an extremely high rate of developing Parkinson's.
Oh, yeah.
An unusually high rate of developing Parkinson's. Oh, what we didn't do, sorry, I got sidetracked there. I didn't list, let me list all the physical symptoms.
Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first one is the gastrointestinal.
Right.
The second one is the vestibular injury. So you have balance and dizziness issues. And I'll give you an example of that. I used to get up out of a chair and I'd have to pause for just like a half a second and grab the arms of the chairs just to let my vestibular system reset before I fully stood up. That's the extent of the injury with the vestibular I was suffering from. And it just became normal. And I didn't even realize that I had a vestibular injury. It just became normal. So you have the vestibular, you have numbness and tingling in your extremities. I used to have it on the front of my legs, forearms, and fingertips. Balance and dizziness issues. I used to fall off the top. I used to climb out of the hatch of the Grizzly when I was in Somalia, and I couldn't balance myself. So I'd climb out of the hatch and I'd literally fall off the side of the Grizzly. You know, that Grizzly's what, 9 feet off the ground, 8 feet off the ground. You know, my back and ankles are shot from falling off that damn armored vehicle all the time. So yeah, balance and dizziness issues, body temperature regulation issues. I get hot in a cold environment. Like I can go out when it's -40 some days with just a t-shirt and a pair of shorts on, and it doesn't even faze me. I could be driving up the road, and I literally in the middle of winter, I gotta open the window of the car because like I've got this full body sweat. Even the bottoms of my feet are sweating, and they're not supposed to sweat. That's what it feels like. Other times, like we've thrown out bedding in our house because it becomes so sweat stained and you can't wash it anymore. Like I will sweat head to toe, and I'll completely soak my pillow and my sheets right down to the mattress. What else is there?
Well, anxiety.
Oh yes, the anxiety.
Yeah, the emotional side. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Tendon issues. I know there's joint issues. I know Stefan Beardwood had
Yeah, no, well, that's just it. We're just looking at the, like, there's a lot of sub issues based off of, like, that gastrointestinal one is probably the
It's huge.
most horrific.
When you consider, 70% of your immune system is in your gut.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow.
the microbiome, your gut microbiome is so important.
And all the stuff your brain needs to function is produced in your guts. For example, serotonin. Where's serotonin produced?
Right.
Your digestive system. How's it get to your brain? Well, when your blood passes through your digestive system, the serotonin adheres to the platelets. And when that passes through the brain, it deposits the serotonin in your brain. If you're taking a crap 5 minutes after you finish your supper, the residence time of that food in your digestive system is not long enough for your body to extract all the chemicals and nutrients you need for your body to produce serotonin. So depression is another symptom that every single veteran that's been poisoned suffer from to some extent.
Wow.
So
are they, not to get off topic, are they still administering this drug?
No.
Okay.
No. It's been the Canadian Forces issues it as a drug of last resort, but I don't think it's in the last few years. The rate of issuing is maybe 1 or 2 per deployment, if that. And then the people that are taking it are so closely monitored that as soon as they have any, signs or symptoms, they're zoinked off of it and given doxycycline or Malarone.
So let's talk about this rally this weekend, Dave.
Oh, yes.
It's 2 days, and it's in Victoria. It's the 8th annual Mefloquine Awareness Rally. And I've been to a few of them. I was at a couple in Ottawa. I was at one in Edmonton, and I know you guys kept it going during the lockdowns, doing outdoor events in Saskatchewan. This year it's in Victoria. It's 2 days. It's this weekend, 21-22 September. And Dr. Remington Nevin, the leading expert in the field, he's an epidemiologist based out of the States. He'll be speaking. And so there's information on Facebook with Mefloquine Awareness. I'll post on my Facebook and promote this. But it's a 2-day event. The Saturday, the 21st, it's an educational forum. And then on Sunday, the actual rally will be at Veterans Memorial Park in Victoria, beginning at 1300 at 1 p.m. with guest speakers, Kathy Wagenthal. She's an MP from Yorkton, Melville, Saskatchewan. She's been she's been a real supporter of the Mefloquine injured soldiers in Canada. Mike Rood, he's an injured veteran and advocate. He's been running the road, spreading awareness with the Rood Awakening Tour, and you can find him on Facebook. And you'll be speaking as well, Dave. So you're going to be in Victoria this weekend
Yes.
to help educate the public. And so, so what is it that you want to get out of these rallies? What is the main objective or objectives?
Reach people. That's it. Raise
So we
awareness,
want the
reach
drug
people.
taken off the market for sure. We want the drug to be taken off the market.
The Mefloquine's pretty much on its way out completely, even from the civilian market.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, now we got to deal with the fallout, and the fallout is injured people that don't know they're injured. For example, a lot of civilian, because it's still issued today.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to a tropical disease medicine place anywhere in Canada, you can get Mefloquine.
Mm-hmm.
And they will give it to you, and people choose it because it's the cheapest alternative there. So people don't and usually with the civilian travelers, their travel is generally shorter and less harsh environments. So their rate of injury is not quite as severe as the military guys and gals, but they do get injured. But where a lot of their symptoms start, though, because of their trips are usually of a shorter duration, is when they're coming down off the drug. And that'll be anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 weeks to 2 months post they're returning to Canada. All of a sudden they're starting to, as the drugs leaving their system, they start developing these physical symptoms and they don't know what it is. So
and they don't relate it back to Mefloquine.
No, you've been off the drug for a month or two, and you're starting to develop the anxiety, you're starting to develop the gastrointestinal stuff, you're starting to have all these physical symptoms, but the anxiety, that's the absolute killer, because as soon as you report to a doctor that you're anxious, boom, 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 they hit you with pills. There's no other treatment. They boom, 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 boom. And 9 times out of 10, these pills will start a slide for these civilians that it's absolutely horrific, because they're treating the anxiety symptomatically instead of going to the root cause. What the root cause is a brainstem injury. And they are completely ignoring that because it's not even on their radar. So they're trying to figure out, how was your childhood? How was this? How was that? How, like they start asking all these dumb questions, just like the Canadian Forces doctors did to me, you have the oppositional defiance disorder, and like all this,
oh man,
I
these
know, crap diagnosis that just allow them to fucking just nail you with the pills. So, and in most cases, these people, they try them on all these different pills, and they take them at the lowest dose to the max dose. And when they hit the max dose, they just don't even wean them off. They bounce them to a different drug. Then after about 4 or 5 years of this, their symptoms are just getting worse. Their people are locked up in psych wards. They're receiving electrical shock therapy. They're.
Well, I had a young RCMP officer that I worked with. He was out of the force, of course, on leave because of his mental issues. So he came to see me, had a gun on the seat, the passenger seat, trying to he came from Saskatchewan all the way over to Alberta, figuring out how he's going to kill himself when he got here. And then he got here. 18 pills in the morning, 18 pills at night. And he didn't know which end was up.
Right.
Yep. And some of those pills cause permanent damage.
Yes.
Permanent damage.
Now, what I want to ask now, we're not medical experts, but what do you do now to mitigate your symptoms? I know there's
like I said, my
diet.
Dr. Susan Brock started me down the brain injury treatment protocols years ago, and I pretty much exclusively, that's all I do. I literally have regained much of my functioning. Like, don't get me wrong, if I'm not vigilant, I still have issues, because one of the things with the mefloquine poison, it causes these uncontrollable rages, extreme negative focus. The Australian lady there described her husband as walking evil. My wife, when I would have these mefloquine seizures, she would head the other way. But when I was having one of these incidents, if I were to walk over to a mirror and look in the mirror, I would see a few definite signs that I'm having a seizure. The first and foremost being my pupils would be fully dilated. My skin would be pale. I'm having difficulty forming words. I'm walking with a slight lean to the left. Don't ask me why that happens, but I've had several veterans report the same thing. And that is the signs that this seizure is happening. Can you stop a seizure? You have to let it run its course. So these extreme anger outbursts I'm sorry, I'm just
That's okay.
Because usually when I would have these, I would devastate my family, the effect on my family and those around me, my work coworkers. I used to work as a framer. I had a young framer named Josh, a lippy little shit. I had one of these seizures the one day at work, and he was getting a little bit lippy with me. And I literally, the only reason that boy is still alive is I'm 6'4", 260 pounds, and he was 160 pounds, and he could run through the roof trusses faster than I could. Because if I would have caught him, I would have thrown him right off that fucking roof. But that's how bad the rages are. Like you 0 to 60. I've had a road rage incident in Edmonton. I beat a guy pretty bad. I've lost so much work. I had a career after I got out of the military, I started fighting fire for the Saskatchewan government up north out in the bush, jumping out of helicopters, putting out fires. I was removed from fires because of these rages. I've worked at almost every fire base in the province, but only for a year or two. And then I'd have problems related to these rages with my superiors. And then I'd have to go work at a different base. I did 12 years with fire management, but, for a couple of years here, a couple of years here, a couple of years here, I've been fired from job after job after job on Civilian Street because of these rages. I went through a divorce. I couldn't even fight for myself because of these rages. I lost my lawyer because of these rages. It's
Yeah, I get the picture.
Your story is just one of so many, Dave.
Yeah. Well, if you look down the states, they've given this drug to, I believe it's somewhere around 1 million of their soldiers since the early 90s. We've only given it to about 60,000 Canadian soldiers here in Canada. Because if you look at the deployments to Africa and the Middle East, to the malarial zones, where a malarial drug would have been issued, the number is up over 60,000. So there's an estimate that That's the estimated number. We haven't been able to confirm it, but that is the estimated number that Canadian guys have been exposed to this drug.
And before I forget, there's a class action, there's a mass tort lawsuit with Canadian veterans who were poisoned by Mefloquine through Howie Saxon Henry out of Toronto. And
Yes.
Paul Miller is the lead lawyer on that. And how many plaintiffs now? I think
It's over 2,200.
2,200. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to bring Dave back because our time is up.
Yeah.
Is this not like the fastest hour of the day?
Well, when it's really important information,
Yes.
vital information, this will save
Well,
lives.
the one thing before we go, if we do get one thing out, we
Mhm.
got to let people know that there is hope. If
Yeah.
you've been
Okay.
poisoned by this drug,
Mhm.
there are treatments that have been found to work. And the simplest one you can do is your diet.
Yes.
Clean up your diet. Everyone that's tried a ketogenic diet has reported significant improvement in their symptom management. And that's just because, remember, you got a gastrointestinal issue, your body's not digest. Basically, ketogenic, it's a very protein-rich, clean diet. There's not a lot of sugars. There's not a lot of, so
High fat, high protein.
yeah. So a lot of people are reporting good results and symptom reduction with that. That's something simple. Next thing is with the gastrointestinal issues, because your guts are over secreting, that's a syndrome called wet gut. So to counter that, you go to a health food store. Don't go to your doctor. Go to a health food store. Go to the where they keep the medicine in the fridge there.
Yeah.
And they have super high strength probiotics. Normal probiotics ain't going to cut it if you're a Mefloquine person. Super high strength. Get the most parts per billion you can. Buy that. Take that once a day, twice a day. And just see how it works for you. But you might have to only take it every second day. But you can control that, and you can get your body digesting your food again. And again, once your body starts digesting your food, the anxiety will reduce a bit, but the incidence of seizures will go down. Okay, and because you're keeping your brain supplied, because basically these seizures happen when right by where the damage, like the temporal lobes by the brainstem. And not only did it burn holes through the brainstem, but it burned holes through the temporal lobe. So the sac that surrounds the temporal lobe is leaking fluid, and that fluid is how the temporal lobe gets its fuel or its nutrients, what it needs to function. So what those rages are either a temporal or midbrain seizure. And you can counter that just by getting your guts digestion again, having a protein-rich diet. So eggs and bacon first thing in the morning, protein throughout the day. Next thing is actual treatment options. Pharmaceuticals are out the window. Ain't going to do anything for you, because it would be like going, oh, you broke your leg. Here, have some antidepressants. This will fix your leg. That's the basic same analogy. So they can work to, no, they don't work fine for
all right. Well,
success.
Yeah.
So, and then on
Dave.
top of that, one last point is Loretta neurofeedback. There's two types of neurofeedback. There's Loretta neurofeedback, and then there's neurofeedback. Neurofeedback's the base stuff. It works, but it takes a long time to have an effect. Loretta neurofeedback, what you do in one session with Loretta would be equivalent to doing like 2 months to 3 months of neurofeedback. Okay, so those are the three things someone can do to reduce their symptoms. I've had about an 80% reduction in my symptoms. My day-to-day function is significantly improved just by managing and doing positive stuff.
You're doing great work, Dave. Good job.
Thank you so much, Dave. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I've learned so much from you today. And thank you for your service.
Yes.
Well, I hope I didn't meander too much, because I get easily sidetracked.
That's okay. No, we're good. We're good. We're right on time here. So, Jill, thank you to you for introducing us to Dave and bringing all these wonderful people to our show on Thursdays where we focus on our vets. So
Now,
thank you, Dave.
one thing I forgot. Mefloquine has a nasty little brother.
Oh,
And it's hiding in the antibiotic family. They made an antibiotic out of the same drug that mefloquine's made out of, and the Cipro. And generally, this drug has been given to for a long time. It was given to women as a treatment for UTIs.
Yeah.
There's some that no one's formally done a study on it that I've been able to find, but there's some indication that some of those, like, what is fibromyalgia? Doctor?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what is fibromyalgia though? It's a generalized, nerve
pain condition with no known cause and no known cure. Because I was diagnosed with it.
So what we're finding is there's a very high rate of fibromyalgia in women as opposed to males, but there's a sneaking suspicion that mefloquine's dirty little antibiotic brother is responsible for this fibromyalgia spike. There's I don't know.
That's another show altogether.
That's another show because I have some input on that one too. All right. So everybody have a great day. Apologize. We must go now. And,
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
No problem.
See you soon.
Okay.
"18 and fresh out of school, living his life and trying to be cool. Johnny's world changed with a telegram. Pack your things and don't be slow, for Benin's where you gotta go. We're sending you to Vietnam. Saw things no one should see, all in the name of liberty. Several friends would pass away. Return home a different man, wondering why he's alive in God's plan. Thought ending it all was the only way. Don't let him be a 22. Gave his body and soul for the red, white, and blue. When his world crashes down, he needs some help to see life through. Don't let him be a 22. Susie was an ex-prom queen. Mommy and Daddy gave her everything, but her eyes were opened on that September day. She watched those silver towers fall, knew she had to heed the call. Marine Corps blues were the way. Got sent to Afghanistan, where an IED took her legs and hands. Living a life with many surgeries. Times got hard and bills piled high. Disabilities were denied. How can she live with these injuries? Don't let her be a 22. Gave her body and soul for the red, white, and blue. When her world crashes down, she needs some help to see life through. Don't let her be a 22. Men and women who take a stand, protecting our homeland, away from their husbands and wives, fighting their internal fights with long and sleepless nights. They need our help to live better lives. us be a 22. We gave our bodies and souls for the red, white, and blue. When our world crashes down, we need some help to see life through. Don't let us be a 22. Don't let us be a 22. We gave our bodies and souls for the red, white, and blue. When our world crashes down, we need some help to see life through. Don't let us be a 22. Don't let us be a 22. We gave our bodies and souls for the red,